Week 17, Premier League, and it was extremely cold in the UK. Taking one look at the coaches and the players on the bench epitomised exactly what conditions were being faced. They were all wrapped up in their scarves, gloves and woolly hats. Out on the pitch, of course, well, it's a different matter. It's a delight to play football because it's cool and you can get stuck in. Man City had Aguero, De Bruyne back after 6 weeks and Sterling on the bench. And Everton were playing a back three. Calvert-Lewin was up front for Richarlison. Walcott relegated to the bench. Under 3 minutes then, a great strike by Calvert-Lewin was pushed wide. However, he was just offside. And then on 14 minutes, a gilt-edged chance for Richarlison following a cross from the left. He met it on the volley, but unfortunately he couldn't keep it down and it went over the bar. Good chance for Everton, who were holding their own. First real opportunity for City, vicious strike from Delph, went just over on 19 minutes. And a minute later, a nice attack. Jesus' effort was pushed just wide by Pickford. So to 21 minutes, and that man Jesus finished off a delightfully sweet move after a poor clearance from the Everton defence. Sane was the man who provided the easy finish for Jesus. 1-0 City. On 30 minutes, City now with much more a confident stride, and Everton were being forced to play most of the game in their own half. Pickford saved well again from Mahrez on 39, and another great effort from Jesus, but the goal was chalked off for offside. So we got to the half-time break, one each. Okay, Everton giving the ball away too much. That would be my summary. But City well deserved of their lead. Second half and 49 minutes, a bullet header from Jesus from another Sane cross, and it was 2-0. On 64 minutes, the nice move out of defence and a cross from the left saw Calvert-Lewin peg one back for the visitors. So Everton back in the hunt at 2-1. At that point, Guardiola put on Sterling and Fernandinho started to become more in the game, and he magically linked with Jesus on the byline, and the chip into the box saw Sterling on his own, and it was 3-1. 69 minutes, that third goal. 70 minutes, a counter-attack, and Richarlison should have pegged them back again, but unfortunately he shot over again. De Bruyne came on to replace Mahrez. Everton continued to create stuff, but it wasn't enough. Man City back in the winner's corner again, back on top. Deserved winners 3-1. But a solid performance from Everton. And if they'd taken their chances, it could have been a very different result. To Vicarage Road, Cardiff were the visitors. This was the first meeting between Watford and Cardiff in the top flight. Deulofeu was in from the start and he certainly made an impact. On 16 minutes, he opened the scoring following a jinking run where he sidestepped two defenders and then he put the ball wide of Etheridge. The keeper denied Watford a second shortly after, but on half-time, Pereira effort from a free kick nearly made it 2. In the second half, Pereira again was denied by Etheridge, but on 52 minutes, Holebas, a delightful strike from outside the box, following a setup from Delafeu, put the Hornets 2 up as it went into the top corner. Quina added a third on 68 minutes, another great strike from just outside the box. And to all intents and purposes, it looked all over with Watford 3 up. Well, Cardiff are made of stern stuff these days, and Hoylett on 80 minutes scored a repeat of the goal he scored against Wolves the other week when he curled a shot into the top right-hand corner, and Foster well beaten. This gave Cardiff life, and within 2 minutes they pulled another back. Reed scrambling in from inside the box after a long throw wasn't cleared by the Watford defence. Well, Watford managed to hang on, and so they win this one 3-2. But a good display by Cardiff. One incident that was pretty unsatisfactory. Deeney went for a ball and collided with Etheridge, and he really could have got a yellow, but nothing shown. Okay, so that's that. Watford, the winners by 3-2. Wembley then. Burnley were the visitors. Spurs, having had a good week already with that draw in the new camp, and they started on the front foot. Mora had an early chance that he put just wide, and Hart was needing to be at his best to deny Demella from a good Spurs break. Lloris at the other end also had to be alert to push wide a Barnes header, and Hart again performed a great low save to keep out Spurs, and it remained goalless into the second half, and Son missed a great chance to open the scoring. It got to 90 minutes and it looked like Burnley were going to hang on for a deserved point, but in stoppage time Eriksson turned up in the box and whipped it in at the near post. Hart finally beaten, and Spurs had scrambled a 1-0 win. Pochettino was delighted. To John Smith Stadium, Newcastle the visitors. Now, both these sides are hardly prolific in front of goal, so we weren't expecting a goal fest. They're in fact the two lowest scorers in the league. Dubrovka kept the Terrys out in the first half, and Huddersfield certainly were the better side. He made a couple of saves, and Newcastle were largely toothless up front. Into the second half then, and on 55 minutes, Newcastle broke from defence, and it was a sweet move. They managed to get the ball down the pitch quickly, a smart cross, and Rondon was there on the end of it, and he pushed the ball wide of Losel, and the Magpies were 1 up. Perez had a goal disallowed for offside, which would have made it 2, but it suggests that it was rather harsh on replay. It was enough anyway. The 1-0 scoreline was enough for Newcastle to take all the points. They probably just about deserved it, but this one will not go down as a classic. To Selhurst Park then, and Leicester were the visitors. Sahar was suspended. He was trying to keep warm in the stands. Vardy and Maguire were back for the Foxes, as was Fuchs in for Chilwell. An early chance for Vardy. He put pressure on the goalkeeper and subsequently tapped it in, but the referee deemed it was foul play, so no goals. Got to minute 39 in what had been a pretty uneventful affair, and then Mihailovic hit a delightful strike past Michael into the corner of the net. So That was the first piece of quality really in the half, and Palace went in and won up. Into the second half, Gray had a half chance to level things, and Vardy's shot was pushed wide onto a post by Goethe, who was in for Hennessy, late on. But Palace held on for their first win without Saha on the pitch. Of course, their manager, Hodgson, was absolutely delighted. So to Craven Cottage, London derby, West Ham were in town. No Sessegnon for Fulham. He has a groin strain. Early on, Fulham looking pretty good. Kamara had an effort denied by Fabianski. West Ham looking sharp on the counter, and on 17 minutes, Henderson got past the defender from a lovely pass by Noble, knocked it back from the byline, and Snodgrass picked his spot into the top corner of the mat of the goal. Absolute cracking goal. Hammers 1 up. Kamara was again denied by Fabianski, and in the monsoon-like cold conditions, it was difficult to play good football. However, Antonio, who's in for Arnautovic, doubled the lead on 29 minutes as he was left unmarked in the penalty box and had all the time in the world to put it past Fabricio after a neat flick from Hernandez. The goalkeeper was absolutely furious with his defenders. So 2-0 at the break. Second half, there was nothing much to report. Fulham, another lesson, I'm afraid. Hammers now looking very good. I think that's 4 wins in a row. So the final score, West Ham winning 2-0. To Molineux then, Bournemouth for the visitors. Bournemouth have had a wretched run of results lately. Wolves bounced back with a couple of wins. Both teams play entertaining football, and it was good on the eye in the first half. However, on 12 minutes, a dreadful defensive error by Daniels let in the Wolves' attack, and they moved the ball swiftly to Jota, who ran into the box, and then a diagonal ball across was met by Jimenez, who was all alone, and that was 1-0 for Wolves. They held that until the break. Into the second half, they should have made it 2 when Helder Costa blasted over after a quick counter-attack. Bournemouth responded and they put Wolves under some pressure. Stanislas hit an upright from a free kick, but Patricio was also saved well from another effort. But as we were approaching full time, there was another counter-attack by Wolves. Costa fed Caballero quickly, who ran into the Bournemouth half, and he struck his shot wide of the keeper, and that was 2-0 for Wolves. Nino Santos was absolutely delighted, and Wolves are now up to 7th. So to the Amex, Brighton at home to Chelsea. Well, both sides trying to get a flow of the game in the first 10 minutes, with Brighton slightly on top. But then on 16 minutes, a magical piece of play by Chelsea. Hazard injected the pace, and his final pass after he'd got to the byline was pinpoint to Pedro, who had a simple tap in. A great assist from Hazard. Then on 33 minutes, Brighton, who had again responded quite well after going 1 down, unfortunately they were guilty of another defensive blunder, and William put Hazard through, he accelerated into the box, too fast for the defenders, and swept the ball past the goalkeeper into the corner. Another piece of classy play from Hazard, and it was 2-0. Okay, between their goals, as I say, Brighton had looked good. Competitive throughout, but 2 defensive blunders, and at the break they were 2-0 down. Into the second half, not as many goal scoring chances, but at 65 minutes Brighton got a goal back. Solly March knocked in a headed cross, and it was game on. Brighton fought well in the latter stages of the match and had a few half chances, but it was to no avail, and Chelsea held on to record a 2-1 victory. We're at St Mary's, and it's Hassan Hüttl's first home match, the new Southampton coach, and it's Arsenal in town. Koscielny was back after 7 months out through injury. Lacazette and Ozil were on the bench. Southampton started briskly, and on 20 minutes, a target cross from the left was headed in by Ings. He got a yard on the rather slow Koscielny, and 1-0 to the Saints. Now, on 27 minutes, Arsenal responded, and Mkhitaryan headed in from a fine cross from Monreal, and so we were level. Just before the break, Saints on the attack, and Redmond, a delightful chipped cross, and Ings was there again to head wide of the keeper, and Koscielny again at fault. Saints into the half-time break, and they were ahead by 2-1. On 52nd minute, once again, Arsenal responded, and it was that Armenian Mkhitaryan. He picked up the ball after a defensive mistake just outside the penalty box. His left foot shot took a wicked deflection, and we were level again at 2 each. Both teams were going for the win. It was great on the eye, and on 84 minutes, a counter-attack from Southampton, a great cross from Long, who was on as a substitute, and Austin's positioning absolutely first rate. The goalie, Leno, failed to get a touch, and Austin's header went in the corner, and it was 3-2. Saints hung on, and so they recorded their first win for the new coach, and their first win at home for a very long time. Southampton winning by 3-2. So the big clash of the weekend, the last match of this weekend, was at Anfield. Liverpool at home to Manchester United. Pogba was still on the bench. He was there with Mata, and Lovren was in defence alongside Van Dijk. Late scare in the tunnel. Bailly had to replace Smalling, who incurred an injury warming up. So to the match, a packed house of course, and right from the off Liverpool were firing on all cylinders. After only 6 minutes, De Gea had to make a great save pushing a shot wide, and this basically was how the first 20 minutes unfolded. Constant streams of Liverpool pressure, United on the back foot. United were a yard slower to everything. Matic and Herrera were overrun in midfield, and it really got to the stage where you just felt that a goal was coming sooner rather than later. We got to 23 minutes somehow, 0-0, but then a tremendous chip pass from Fabinho saw Mane run into the space. The defence were ball watching. He collected the ball and it was passed to Gea in a second, and United were 1 down. After that, United tried to sort of organise themselves better, and they did improve slightly, although Liverpool was still well in control. But then on the 32nd minute, really against the run of play, there was an attack by United. Lukaku got to the byline. His cross rather, was parried by Alisson, who made a right mess of it, and he pushed it right to the oncoming Lingard, who connected a rather awkward ball, but it bounced into the net and we were all level. Remarkable, really, considering the Liverpool ascendancy. From there on, United certainly improved, and we got to the break 1-1. Into the second half, Fellaini came on to try and tighten up the midfield, which was certainly all Liverpool, and it didn't really help that much, to be frank. On 52 minutes, Firmino, a delicate piece of dribbling, created some space and prodded the ball towards goal. De Gea managed to tip it round the post. In fact, De Gea was repeatedly being called to provide some stiff resistance. The defence, United's defence, were handling the raids better, although Robertson seemed to have the freedom of the left wing to himself. Anyway, so Van Dijk went very close with a header, which was blocked. But then on 70 minutes, Klopp decided to ring the changes. On came Shaqiri for Keita, and within 2 minutes, the Swiss completed a great move. Mane got to the byline, fed it back. United's defence were all at 6s and 7s. Shaqiri connected beautifully, and although there was a slight deflection, it hit the crossbar and was in, with De Gea unable to do anything about it. So Liverpool were back in front 2-1. Not long after that, Shaqiri got his second, and this was the game killer. Another great left foot shot from just inside the penalty box following a corner, and it was deflected in, but De Gea helpless to do anything about it. Overall, I would suggest that United could be encouraged by the way that they responded, but really Liverpool deservedly winners. And I think there's some serious issues in that United midfield and back line. There's lack of confidence, there's an inability to know what each other is doing, and they seem to be flustered very quickly and physically don't seem to be up to it. Anyway, it finished 3-1 for Liverpool, and Liverpool went back to the top of the Premier League. So that's week 17 done and dusted. Let's take a glance at the league table then. Liverpool back to the top after their win against the Red Devils. They are on 45 points, 1 point ahead of Man City. Spurs are clearly in third now with 39, and Chelsea 37. Arsenal are in fifth on 34, with United sixth on 26. at the bottom. Fulham now rock bottom with 9, 1 point behind Huddersfield on 10, and Burnley on 12. Southampton have moved out of the bottom 3. They are now in 17th, also on 12. Let's have a quick look at the goal of the week. And my goal of the week, I'm going to give it to the goal by Hazard, the second goal at Brighton. Terrific turn of pace, an exquisite quality finish in the corner. That's my lot.